Alhamdulillah wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah amma ba'd. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Brothers and sisters, this is wedding season. And when it comes to wedding season, the single people can be divided into two different categories. One category is the single brother or sister who's actually going to get married this summer. And they're preparing for their wedding, ceremony, probably getting, the hall sorted, the food sorted, and all the other kind of, things that are pertaining to a marriage ceremony. Then you got the other category of brothers and sisters who are like, another year's gone by and I'm still lonely. I'm still looking for that wife, I'm still looking for that husband, and it's even peaking out because the summer's out and it's hot and fitness outside and everyone's just roasting. Like, I need to find myself a spouse, right? For you guys, this video is not for you. But I've done loads of videos for you in the past, and there's one particular video that I would like you to watch. And it's a video I did called 10 ways on how to find yourself a babe. Okay, 10 ways on how to find babe. Inshallah ta'ala, I gave you 10 things from the Quran and the Sunnah that's going to basically allow you to find the person who's going to be the one that you're going to marry, inshallah ta'ala. So go to the link below to watch that video, that lecture I done. But this video is for my brothers and sisters who are preparing on getting married. Okay, you're preparing your wedding ceremony. You're probably going crazy right now, my sister. No, I don't mean that in a disrespectful way, but you're probably, very overwhelmed. That's what I should say. Making sure your wedding dress is all right. Of course, you're going to do your wedding in a halal way. There's not going to be no free mixing. So the only people who are going to see your wedding dress are the sisters in the sisters' hall, right? The brother's probably sorting his wedding outfit out. Families are getting ready. Families are probably coming from internationally. There's a lot for you to sort out. But in that, brothers and sisters, those of you who are looking to get married, there's one thing that you're probably neglecting. And sadly, we all neglect this when it comes to our weddings. We prepare everything except for the most important thing. You know what that is? That is the actual marriage. Remember, there's a difference between the wedding and there's a difference between the marriage. The wedding lasts for a few hours on one night. The marriage, inshallah ta'ala, will last till you die, or until divorce. The problem is that we spend and we focus so much time on the wedding, that we don't actually prepare anything for the marriage. And that's why after the wedding, after those 3-4 hours, the very next day or a few days or a few weeks or even a few months later, problems, fights, arguments, separation, and sad to say, the most common case, divorce. Divorce nowadays is actually more common than couples staying together. I want you to ponder on how terrible that is. Divorce is more common than people staying together. You're more likely to get divorced than to remain together happily ever after, as they say. I don't know if that's a Christian statement. Sorry, I shouldn't have said that. But as they say, actually no, it's not Christian. It's something they say from fairy tales, right? Happily ever after. So happily ever after, that's not common anymore. What's common is divorce. You know why? Because you're going to spend a year, maybe 2 years, maybe 6 months, non-stop focusing on everything for that one night. But maybe you didn't spend any time focusing on the rest of your life. So, in this video, inshallah ta'ala, although I can't teach you everything about marriage right now because of the time, of course, because no one has encompassed this whole topic except for Allah Azza wa Jal, what I can do is I can start you off. I want to start you off with basically the overall key ingredients as to why and how to have a successful marriage. Very short, simple. If you stick to these two things, brothers and sisters, of course, there are many other factors, but if you stick to these two things and you understand these two things, it will really assist you in having a successful marriage. We're going to go to the Quran for the Quranic guidance, and I want to take you to an ayah in the Quran. And this is the most famous ayah when it comes to marriage. It's probably the verse that you chose to put on your wedding invitation, and it's probably the verse that's going to be recited by the Qari or the Imam when he recites at your wedding ceremony, right? And it is none other than Surah 30, Surah Rum, ayah number 21. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in this ayah, وَمِنْ آيَاتِهِ أَنْ خَلَقَ لَكُم مِّنْ أَنفُسِكُمْ أَزْوَاجًا. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said that from the signs of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, from the great signs of Allah, that is a proof of Allah, of His existence, His Lordship, His Majesty, the fact that He deserves to be worshipped alone, is what? أن خلق لكم من أنفسكم أزواجا, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created wives, He created spouses for you from yourself. Okay? لِتَسْكُنُوا إِلَيْهَا. Why? So that you could live in tranquility. So that the husband and wife could be in a state of tranquility and peace and serenity and harmony and stress-free and relaxation for the rest of their life. And how would this happen? وَجَعَلَ بَيْنَكُمْ مَوَدَّةً وَرَحْمَةً. And I'll explain what that means in a second. And at the end Allah says, وَإِنَّ فِي ذَلِكَ لَآيَاتٍ لِقَوْمٍ يَتَفَكَّرُونَ. Verily in this are signs for a people who reflect and think and ponder. Now brothers and sisters, let us go into this verse and really understand it, really reflect upon it, and really pull out the gems and the lessons from it that the scholars who have preceded us have extracted. Let's go to the beginning. Allah said He created your spouses from you. Azwajan. He created أنفسكم. أن خلق لكم من أنفسكم أزواجا. That He created from you your spouses. What does this mean? We have to go back in time. We have to go back to the time of Adam alayhi salam. Adam was the first human being Allah created, right? But then Allah created the wife of Adam. And where did the wife of Adam come? Allah created Eve, in other words Hawa, from Adam. From the side of Adam, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He extracted from Adam, and then from that He created Eve, right? So Eve was actually, or Hawa, our mother, right? She was actually made from a part of her husband. And a part of her husband was actually in her. How amazing is that? That's pretty romantic, isn't it, brothers and sisters? But here's a powerful lesson. Pay attention now. If Eve was created from Adam, what was Adam created from? He was created from the earth. He was created from the earth. There's a powerful lesson in this, brothers and sisters, for the husband and wife. Adam was created from the earth. And what is the earth? The earth is where the husband, he works. Of course, before we had buildings, before we had offices, where would the men go and work? They would work in the farms. That was the first job that there was. The first job that men had to do, the first profession that you could have would be to be a farmer. You'd go into the ground, you'd grow crops, you'd work with the animals. Your aspirations and your job, your work life, your career was to do with the earth. Huh? So what did that show you? The man, because he was created from the earth, his aspirations are towards the earth. And the woman, because she was created from the husband, her aspiration is towards the husband. And wallahi, brothers and sisters, anyone who's sincere and ponders over this will know that I'm not saying anything wrong. If you go and sit in a gathering of sisters, what are the sisters talking about? Married sisters. They're talking about their husbands, or they're talking about their relationship, or things to do with their relationship. And whenever they're with their husband, they want to talk about their relationship, right? There's nothing wrong with that. But that's, generally speaking, what the woman wants to talk about. Generally speaking. Now, men, on the other hand, it's going to be very rare to find a gathering of men where they're talking about their relationship. Rather, men are going to be talking about work, business, this will happen, that's what happened, right? And they don't enjoy so much inside of the marriage talking about the relationship as they would enjoy talking about their own life and their own work, right? So both the husband and wife need to understand this, brothers and sisters. Both the wife needs to understand that my husband, his joys, his aspiration, his drive, his passion is in what? Is in his work, okay? Is in his work. Of course, not to the degree where he neglects his relationship, but that's really what he enjoys, okay? Because he was created from there. And the husband has to realize that the woman, right? Her passions and her motivations and her aspirations are in the very relationship itself, because she was created from her spouse originally, right? Eve was created from her spouse. So because she was created from that, her aspiration is in the relationship. So the man, now he understands this. When he's with his wife, in order to make her happy, he should be thinking, okay, how can I improve this relationship? How can I be a bit more romantic? How can I take my wife out on more dates? Let me set aside time to discuss our relationship with my wife. she talks to him about the relationship or things concerning the relationship, he should be very empathetic to lend an ear, because why? This is her aspiration, and the wife should do the same. The wife should not get in his way when it comes to his work. She should let him work, go out there and not interrupt him and not be a hindrance and an obstacle to him, because generally speaking, the wife, because she loves the husband, she wants him to spend as much of her time as she can she wants him to spend as much of his time as he can with her. But she needs to understand that as much as he loves her and he wants to be with her, but the way that he's going to show his love to her is through his work. He's actually going to show love to his wife through the money he brings on the table and says, this is for you, my wife. That's his sign of love, okay? So you have to understand that and let him and support him and ask him, how was your day? And tell me about your work, okay? And if he's open to, of course, sometimes men, they don't like to open up, right? And if he doesn't, no problem, wait for him, let him open up. When he opens up, let him lay it all out on you, inshallah ta'ala, and support him in his work. Ask him, how can I help? How can I contribute? If he says, no, don't contribute, no problem, but then he knows that you're there. And the same way, he should be like, my wife, how can we work on this relationship today? What can we do? How can I fix myself? Talk about the relationship, work on the relationship, because the way that a woman perceives love is through the relationship. The way that a man perceives love and shows love is through how he provides for this relationship. Do you see? Do you see? So you both have to understand this. And by the way, this is not my understanding. Abdullah ibn Abbas radiyallahu anhuma, the great companion of the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam, is the one who explained this ayah like this. That the aspiration of the man is in the earth, his workplace, his career, and the aspiration of the woman is in the husband and the relationship itself. Why? Because she was created from the husband. Okay, good. That's the first lesson. That you both have to understand what each one's interests are and relate and accommodate and empathize with each other based on this, and let each person thrive off their aspiration with you. Okay, inshallah ta'ala. Now let's go back to the verse. Then Allah tells us, لِتَسْكُنُوا إِلَيْهَا. Okay, what is the whole reason for this marriage? That Allah wants, what does He want you to acquire from this marriage? لِتَسْكُنُوا إِلَيْهَا. Sakina, tranquility, relaxation, brothers and sisters. Your marriage life needs to be relaxation. You come home, a man's busy all day, working hard, stressed, but then he comes home to his wife. She just gives him a big hug and all those stresses just kind of wither away. Relaxation. The wife is stressed, working all day, taking care of the kids. She sees her husband. That stress goes away. That little conversation that they have, the intimate time that they might spend, it brings relaxation to them. And of course, one of the main ways to bring about relaxation is through intimacy. I mean, look at all the unmarried kids. Look how unrelaxed and stressed they are, just because they're roasting. They're so, aroused because of this hypersexualized society. They're like always on edge. Their desires are always up, their hormones are raging because they're not able to fulfill their desires. But the moment they get married and they fulfill their desires, that all just calms down. And they enter into a state of relaxation. That doesn't mean you're not going to have ups and downs. Doesn't mean you're not going to have, arguments. Those times where you're not relaxed will occur. But overall, the whole objective of the wedding and the marriage is what? Is relaxation. And if marriage is a means to relaxation, the opposite is also true, as the ulama they explain, that being non-married is a state of stress. You're stressed outside of marriage. You'll be more stressed outside of marriage because you're always having to, control your desires and not feel your desires. And, human beings, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is al-witr. He's the one who's alone. He likes to be the odd. As in, He doesn't want to be in a pair. Allah's not in a pair. There's no one equal to Allah. Allah doesn't need anyone. Brother, we need to be in pairs. We are social beings. We're social creatures. And the greatest social relationship that one can have is a husband and wife. That's the most closest relationship that you can have. Right? So we are incomplete when there's just one. But we become complete when there's two. And that's when tranquility and peace comes. We're in a state of stress if we're just alone. But the moment we come with our other half, what happens? Suddenly that stress leaves. Tranquility comes because you're complete with your spouse. But Allah Azza wa Jal, it will be incompleteness for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to be in a pair. That will be shirk, wal-iyadhu billah, as the Christians they do. For us, it is incompleteness to be alone. For Allah, it is completeness to be alone. That he's the only one in charge, the only one to be worshipped, the only one to be obeyed, the only one who controls and provides. But for us, it is completeness when we get married. Good. Now the question you might ask is, okay, look, I'm married, or you might know people are married, and they don't live in a state of tranquility and peace. In fact, their marriage is the opposite. Stress, arguments, fights, and then some of them are getting divorced. So you're like, how is it peace when the divorce rate is so high? Allah tells us right after that, وَجَعَلَ بَيْنَكُمْ مَوَدَّةً وَرَحْمَةً. Two things Allah mentions. These two things, without them, you will not be able to find peace in your marriage. Mawadda is a very deep love. It's a deep love. It's a special love. Okay? Not hub. Hub is like love that you have. You can have hub for your mom and dad. Mawaddas. This is a unique word Allah chose between the husband and wife. Wa rahma, and mercy. If there is no love between husband and wife, and there is no mercy between husband and wife, there is no peace. The love and the mercy, love plus mercy equals peace. But the question is, how does one acquire love? Brothers and sisters, go through the rights of a husband and the rights of a wife. Learn them. And these rights are the exact same thing that will lead to love. The right for the husband that he has to be obeyed and respected. If every wife was to respect and obey her husband, wallahi, he would love it. He would love her head over heels, because a man he understands love and respect, but the woman understands love through quality time, through emotional attachment and words of affirmation and stuff like that. But man, you don't ever have to spend quality time with your husband, necessarily speaking, but just respect him, and that's love for him. So for the wife to show him respect and obedience, for the husband to provide for his wife. Come on, look at how many arguments husband and wife have because the husband doesn't provide, doesn't pay the bills, doesn't pay the rent. That's a direct obstacle for your love. Fulfill her rights, man. Then of course she has rights to intimacy. You're not showing her intimacy. You're not making love to her. She's not making love to him. She's not obeying him when it comes to making love. She doesn't dress up for him. He doesn't groom himself for her. He doesn't look good for her. She doesn't beautify herself for him. These are all rights that you have. If you're not fulfilling each other's rights, how do you expect for the love? But if you fulfill the rights, the love will come. And from the greatest of these rights, brothers and sisters, that I just want to focus on a little bit, is the right of intimacy. You have to understand, brothers and sisters, that the marriage is built upon desires. Okay, sexual intimacy. Okay, sorry, I feel shy saying these things, but this is an important topic that needs to be addressed and needs to be discussed. So this is something that, is a foundational thing in your relationship. You cannot come to a state of love with a lack of intimacy. You need a healthy, forgive me for saying it, but sex life. A healthy one. Of course, where you do not do haram. You're not doing filthy things like some of the kuffar do. But the husband comes home to his wife beautiful for him. She's dressed up. She doesn't dress up for the world outside. She dresses up for him. She's wearing a nice clothes, nice outfit. Married on, she got kids or no kids, she's dressing up for him. Makeup done for him. Doesn't have to be caked up, but something nice, something decent. Doesn't have to be every day, but more often than not. He takes care of himself. He makes sure he's trim and slim in the gym for her, and he's got his, he's groomed, his haircut and whatnot. Of course, you don't shave your beard for your wife because the beard is for Allah. But you look good, you don't smell. Your breath is good. Your breath is nice. You take care of yourself for her. You have intimacy. You have a healthy, intimate life. You're not selfish in terms of your intimacy. The wife doesn't just look for herself to reach arousal and climax and then forget the husband. And the husband doesn't just, reach, climax and ejaculation and just forget about the wife and not fulfill her desires and bring her to her enjoyment and release. No, they're very, very merciful to each other and very selfless in their love making. And they do this regularly. Regularly they do it. The more love that they have and the more love that they make and the more intimacy that they have, the more that the love will increase without a shadow of a doubt. Without a shadow of a doubt. The more love But the more intimacy that they have, the more love that they will have. Sometimes wives, they don't have intimacy with their husband, or they don't, they're a bit difficult with it. And this is wrong, wallahi, because this is the exact thing that will cause toxicity in your relationship. If you give in, and even if you may not enjoy it, but understand this is you may not enjoy it as much as you may say to yourself, for example, right now I'm not really fully feeling in the mood, but be selfless and be giving at that time. This will only result in you receiving more. It will only result in you receiving more from him, because he will be like, wow, the man, intimacy means more for him than it means for the woman. And of course the woman, it means a lot for her as well, but it means more for a man ultimately, generally speaking, than it does for a woman. If you give it to him, wallahi, he will return for you. If he's a God-fearing man, a man who fears Allah Azza wa Jal, he will give to you. He won't be selfish. He'll give to you your needs and your rights. Of course, you communicate to him, these are my needs and my rights. You'll get it, inshallah ta'ala. But brothers and sisters, pay attention. Right after that, what did he mention? Allah mentioned rahmah, mercy. You know why? Because a marriage is not just about intimacy. A marriage is not just about sex. Sadly, some people, that's the way they think. They just want intimacy, intimacy, intimacy. No, it's also about mercy. Intimacy leads to the love as well as does fulfilling all the other rights. But then it's not just fulfilling the rights, making money for her, making money for, having intimacy, making love. It's those things that lead to love, that's not enough, that's going to cut it. You need to have an element of mercy. Sometimes your wife's going to make mistakes. Let it go, man. Let it go. Sometimes your husband's going to annoy you. Let it go. When she's on her period, or just before her period, she's going through this premenstrual, PMS, they call it, premenstrual stress. It's about a week before the period, she's going to get this hormonal changes taking place in her body, right? It's actually very deep. There's hormonal changes taking place. As Imam Ibn al-Qayyim said, Allah cut the woman a break for a week due to the hormonal changes and the difficulty that she goes through due to her period and her menstrual cycle. Allah gave her a break for about a week. So she doesn't even have to pray. You can't give her a break that she's feeling a bit moody, a bit off. You can't give her a break for a week, my brother. Give her a break, man. Allah gave her a break. You should be able to give her a break. Sisters, that doesn't mean you take advantage. Oh wait, this is my break. I can be moody, off and snappy. No. Both parties, sisters should understand, no. I'm going to try and overcome these as much as I can to my capacity, is hormonal changes. But the husband also understands that if she slips up every now and again, let it go. Sisters, pay attention. Some sisters, they try to justify, I've got hormonal issues going on and this is why I'm snappy and whatnot. Sisters, there are some relationships that you have that no matter how hormonal you get, you will not snap back and shout and scream at that person. For example, your father. Most sisters will not snap and shout and scream in their father's face, okay? But they will do it to their husband. To their husband, they use the excuse, I'm PMSing. I'm coming onto my period. No, sisters, that's not right, wallahi. Fear Allah Azza wa Jal. Fear Allah Azza wa Jal. He's got to be empathetic with you if you do slip up. But you also know, because there are certain relationships, the relationship of your father, for example, you will not shout and scream the house down to your dad, no matter how hormonal you are. So you shouldn't do it to your husband either. The fact that you don't do it to your father is proof that you can't control yourself. If you do, we know it's hard, and if you do slip up, you should let it go. But overall, you do have the ability to control it, inshallah ta'ala. So you should work on it, inshallah ta'ala, and not use it as an excuse. Both parties should be working hard, inshallah ta'ala, to overcome this. And remember, sister, that your husband has now got the authority and the right over you that your father used to have. So if you used to respect your father, you've got to respect your husband now. Okay? He takes that authoritative role over you the way that the father used to have. Good. So you need mercy, patience. If you make mistakes, let it go. Don't argue. Let it go, man. Be merciful. Don't shout, don't scream. Imam Ahmad rahimahullah said 20 years I was married to my wife and we never shouted at each other once. We never shouted at each other once. Merciful. Also pay attention. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned mawaddah, which is that special love from fulfilling each other's rights, like intimacy and providing, whatnot. That, and then Allah mentioned that right next to rahmah. To show you, one of the benefits that we extract from this is that the beginning of the marriage, right, it's more focused on the mawaddah side, these rights. It's all about the gifts that the husband buys the wife and the way he provides for her, and the intimacy that they have. That's what a lot of the relationship focus on. And a lot of the relationship stands and is concentrated heavily on what? On the mawaddah, on the rights being fulfilled, the intimacy, the gifts, the providing, and all of the rights basically. But then as you grow older, the intimacy wears down, the beauty is not the same as it was. The rahmah is what the mercy is what is the overpowering thing that kind of runs the marriage forward from that point onwards. Of course, you should never get to a point where you're not fulfilling each other's rights, no matter how old you get. But the point is that the mawadda and the intimacy and all that dies down. It's not as strong as it was, and now the mercy kicks in. And another powerful benefit here, brothers and sisters, is that notice that Allah placed this love based on intimacy and this mercy together. Why? In the context of marriage. Because this love, that special love based on intimacy and mercy, these two types of love, these two types of things you can only experience together in a marriage. You can get each of these things separately outside of marriage. But the only time you can get them both together is in a wife or a husband. For example, you can get intimacy and desires fulfilled from a prostitute or a girlfriend that you can just get off the street, right? And you can also get mercy from your mum. But the both together you can only get from your wife or from your husband. Brothers and sisters, then Allah Azza wa Jal says, إِنَّ فِي ذَلِكَ لَآيَاتٍ لِقَوْمٍ يَتَفَكَّرُونَ. Verily in this there are signs for a people who reflect and ponder. So, let's summarize what we've learned. The aspirations of the wife is in the husband and the relationship itself. The aspiration of the husband is in providing for this relationship through his work and his career. So both should empathize and understand and facilitate and accommodate and entertain those aspirations that each party in the relationship has. The second thing is that the objective of this marriage is tranquility and peace. And being outside of the marriage is a lack of tranquility and peace. Well, how do you acquire this tranquility and peace in your marriage? Through two things. Mawadda, a special love that is only fulfilled and reached by means of fulfilling each other's rights. Primarily intimacy. And mercy, which is that tenderness, that forgiveness, that patience. And at the beginning of the marriage, the rights and the intimacy is the main driving force of love and tranquility and peace. But as the relationship goes on and the intimacy dies down and the desires are not as strong, the mercy kicks in and you're very merciful to each other. And the relationship remains due to mercy. I really hope that you benefited, brothers and sisters. I would like to invite you all to a program that we have online called My Big Fat Muslim Wedding. As I mentioned to you that, for you to learn about the importance of marriage and, the inner dealings of marriage is so much more, and to prepare for marriage from that angle is much more important than for you to prepare for your wedding. Right? The wedding will last a few hours, wallahi. Your marriage will last for years. If you prepared for it from the beginning, you will have a good relationship, my sisters and my brothers. Remember, if you do not plan, you plan to fail. If you do not plan, then what you're actually planning for is failure. So you're planning for your wedding, but are you planning for your marriage? We have made this online program for you absolutely free. It's called My Big Fat Muslim Wedding, in which we discuss all the Islamic legislational things pertaining to a wedding. And before it, we have a program called Finding Bae, which is all about the kind of person that you should look for in a spouse. And inshallah ta'ala, and we discuss in this My Big Fat Muslim Wedding the importance of intimacy and intimacy on the first night, and very important things, all pertaining to the wedding. And inshallah ta'ala, we aim to put up more courses on the issue of marriage as the months go by. And right now this course is absolutely free, but it's only free for the next 5 days. So I really urge you, I really recommend you, I really ask you from the bottom of my heart, brothers and sisters, do not delay. Go to the link below and sign up ASAP, inshallah ta'ala. And hopefully you can benefit from this program. With that said, I love you and leave you. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu.